Katerina, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I glanced at it. I grew up with a Katrina, and so every time I see the K, that's all I see. And welcome everyone to Agencies Talk. This is where we talk to agency owners. A lot of them are certified partners with the DigitalMarketer program, and just talk about the operations of running an agency, growing an agency, building a really scalable business is what we're trying to do here. So today we have Katerina.
Yes.
Gasset. Oh my gosh, I can't.
So you said both wrong. It's
wrong.
okay.
I said both wrong. That was that's not that unusual. Usually what I do is I have the phonetic spelling because I'm like, I'm gonna blow it even if I try, even if I practice. But thank you so much for coming on. Today we're talking about outsourcing. And I think we actually have covered that topic quite a bit. And I think with the development of AI, it's going to switch things up. So I figure what we could do is kind of hear your side about the benefit of outsourcing, and then I'll argue for the AI side, essentially, saying what this new capability can do. And so let's get into it. So tell me about what you do and why outsourcing is the way to go in terms of scaling.
Okay. So I have some points I wanted to go over and just give a little bit of background too about how I arrived to where I am so that we have a perspective to work from. So I want to start with several statements that will help you gain a perspective about how much time and money you might be losing in your business right now. And then we'll talk about how you can change that work paradigm, because it's more than just outsourcing. It's more than just using AI. We use AI all the time even in our outsourcing. But so I'm going to go through 4 statements that I want to premise everything with. And number 1 is when you outsource work to virtual assistants, you save about 70% of your business overhead. And that can be pretty meaningful for many businesses. Number 2, 40% of all the tasks you are doing right now, you either shouldn't be doing or you should be outsourcing. And then number 3, Aristotle said this statement, and I always have to look at it so I don't say it wrong. Nature abhors a vacuum. Physics proved later on that he's correct, that whenever you take anything off of your list to do, so let's say you're outsourcing, oh gosh, now my list is only half full. Well, tomorrow it'll be all the way full because more will appear in its place. And then 4, Parkinson's law. So what Parkinson's law is that if I give you a task to do, if I give you a project and today's Monday and I say, I need you to finish this project by Friday, you'll have it finished by Friday. If I give the project to you on Monday and I say you need to have it done by Wednesday, you'll have it done by Wednesday. And if I say you have to have it done by the end of the day, you're going to have it done by the end of the day. And that's called Parkinson's law. So the work will expand to fill the time that it's allotted for its completion. So with those 4 things in mind, I wanted to just give you a little bit of background about how I learned how to delegate, because this will really help people that might be just beginning this process, or they might already be delegating, but not enough, and things like that. And so when I was a teenager, I was a model and an actress when I was around 15. So I learned the art of delegation really fast. When you're a model, your whole life is set up by others, and they do all the heavy lifting and you just show up for your time. So I had an agent, I had a manager, I had a photographer, someone to do my makeup, and I had a quack doctor to keep me skinny. So then so on. So everything was taken care of. This experience at such a young age really helped me to understand the principles of delegation. So whenever I started a new business, I already had that in my mind. I didn't have to learn it. I have been a realtor since I was 20, I think. So it's been I'm aged myself, but I'm 64 years old now. I forgot how old I am. I'm 64. I'll be 65 in June. And so for over 40 of those years, I have been a realtor as well as owned many other businesses. I owned several Taekwondo schools and a coaching practice in the very beginning, and this is all pre-internet. So this is before there was email, before there was cell phones, and fax machines weren't even invented at this time. When I looked at my competitors in the martial arts field, all of them were doing everything themselves. And I noticed that it wasn't a good business model because they could never grow more than 50 to 75 students. And so I knew, and because they were doing everything. So when I looked at what they were doing in their company, they were doing all of the sales. They were the janitor, the bookkeeper, they were the owner, they were the head instructor. So there was no time to grow, right? Well, I decided, since I had all that background in delegating, that I was going to set my school up different. And within 6 months, we were grossing $10,000 per month and one school. And today, in today's money, if you go convert that to today's money, that would be $24,000 a month for one Taekwondo school. So we were the top sellers and all this stuff. So now fast forward to 2020, my second husband dies of a massive heart attack at the time that I owned 7 businesses, and I was his partner in his real estate brokerage. And when he died, I stopped working on all of my business. I don't think people understand when someone dies how much work there is to do. So not only I had all that stuff to do, but we had 9 children, 8 of them were grown, and my 17-year-old son watched his father die right in front of him. So there was a lot of for me to process, and I had to be strong for all these kids. And he was a baseball player, and my husband did everything with him for baseball. So overnight, I was thrown into having to do a full-time job with baseball with my son and having to learn everything. And he was the varsity pitcher on his junior team at the time. 2 months later, COVID happens. And now I'm spending 24/7 keeping him out of depression because he can no longer play baseball. It was probably one of the worst things that that was worse than his dad dying, I would say, because he loved baseball so much. And so me and some of the moms got together to find out where we could go in the United States, where we could go play baseball. So we traveled to places like Indiana and Kansas, and we would find states that would have leagues and allow the kids to play. So that's what we ended up doing. And that was a full-time job. So I had no time to work on any of my businesses. And also during those 3 years, I was remodeling my house in Florida that I had for 27 years. I sold it. I was getting my son, working with all the recruiters from the different colleges, trying to get him as the proper baseball scholarship for him, get him into his dorm. Then I moved to Utah. I buy the super fixer-upper. That's why my background's blurred, because this is going to be my office one day. And so my question, and I could do it all because I had SOPs in place, and I had everything automated through my virtual assistants who took care of everything while I was absent. So my questions to agency owners is, can you do that? Can you do what I did? Can you take even 6 months off and still have a business when you get back and still have it running well while you're gone? You know, because life happens. So, yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. So the other thing that I noticed when I work with agency owners and business owners is that most of us fall into the empath category, right? We are givers. We love to help others. All we want to do is make sure that our clients get the best from us and they're successful in their businesses. But we then, what do? We put our own marketing on the back burner. So that's what I see happens most of the time. I'm a certified partner with DigitalMarketer, and we do work with different agencies here in certified partner. And we're always doing their client stuff. So we do a lot of white labeling. So we're doing their client stuff. And I'm like, what about your stuff? Well, they don't have time. They don't think about it. And even though we are giving by, doing this with our customers, we're doing future customers a huge disservice because we're not getting ourselves out there so they can find out about us, right? So we're not helping the people we should be helping because we're not in front of them. So we do, and I'm guilty of the same thing, but this year I decided that wasn't going to happen anymore. So I decided that I was going to start creating different plans of action, and we were going to implement them. And I told my staff and my team, I said, we are a customer. So we're going to treat ourselves as a customer as well. And then we will start, to do our own marketing. And that's one of the things that we do really well. So, so one of the things is a lot of people ask me, well, how do you get started with all of this? Because people feel really overwhelmed, especially business owners and agency owners, about how they, how can they get this 40%, right? We have 40% that we shouldn't be doing. How do we get this 40% off of our list, right? And one of the things that happens a lot with our clients is they'll come to us, they tell me how overwhelmed they are. I do a strategy session with them. We find out that they're just so overwhelmed, like, sometimes they're just burning out. And then they want me to do then they want to outsource, let's say, all their TikTok stuff because they've never done TikTok before, but that's not on their list. So even though that's a good thing to delegate, it's not making the list less, right? It's not lessening the overwhelm. So you first have to work on, you have to look at your list and see what is it here that I can delegate. So one of the homework assignments that I give to people is I ask them to keep a time log for a whole week. And it's kind of a pain in the butt sometimes, but you're only going to have to do it once every 6 months. I do mine once every 4 months because, like I said, with Parkinson, with the nature, of course, of vacuum, my list tends to start to fill up with things I shouldn't be doing too. So when you do, and I'm talking about everything that you do. So from the time you wake up in the morning to the time you go to bed at night, you write everything, and that includes your shower. So how long, you're jumping in the shower, you write down what time that is, and then you write down when you get out, when you're eating your breakfast, when you're packing your school lunches for your kids, driving the kids to school. Keep that log going for every single thing that you do that day, and you do it for 1 week in a row, including your weekends. And then you grab some highlighters after the week is over. I got to get a drink of water, sorry.
Actually, do you mind if we guys stop and I'll ask you some questions? Just because the presentation style is awesome, but these are more like
that's fine.
a banter.
I know. I just wanted to get some of that stuff in there in case people had questions, but go ahead.
No, that's fantastic. And I think the time tracking is a great way to do it. And you were probably going to get to this, but I'm just going to speed it up a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine.
So you track the time. And I think the biggest problem is exactly what you talked about, where instead of saying, okay, here's the things that are taking up all my time, instead I'm going to do this thing that I was planning on doing in the future, haven't got a chance to do, and now I'll just delegate it and it'll be fine. Which, if you're delegating a social media network is terrible, just because how are they going to express you if they don't know you at all and you had no plan to give them? So is one of the things that you kind of teach to develop these systems, execute the systems yourself and then hire or outsource the component, or?
It depends on the niche, and it depends on what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And so we always start with the avatar, right? So we're starting with their avatar, and most of our clients won't give us an avatar. And most of our clients feel like they're going to leave somebody out if they do an avatar thing. So that's a part of our training. But now with AI, we do it for them. So I'll do an interview with them. We'll do a strategy session. My COO will usually do a 30-minute strategy session with a new client onboarding. And she'll get all that, and she'll get as much of that as she can out of there. Then we'll research them if they're, whatever they're doing. If they're an agency owner, they're still going to have something online that we can find, their LinkedIn profile or something. We'll gather the information. We'll, we'll prompt engineer ChatGPT to help get us the content that we need. For instance, right now we're onboarding a lady who's developing, she created an anti-aging cream. So she's going to have an e-commerce and a Shopify site and all that, but she's having a really difficult time creating her story and her journey. And she has an amazing one. So we just interviewed her, and it's because she doesn't like to be on video and stuff like that. Right. So we're doing that for her. And then we'll just create it all. We'll get her voice on 11, whatever that site is, with her, get her voice in there and have her voice. And we just take it all over for her.
Nice. No, and that makes a ton of sense. So just going back to the delegation side, now that you could actually make the customer avatar, is that a component? Sounds like you do it with the customer, and AI is kind of helping you facilitate it versus tracking them down and asking a million questions and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So that helps a lot.
Yeah. Okay. So you basically set up the system, and then after it's all set up, then you can start delegating to the VA, or are you saying you should take tasks that aren't related to maybe serving clients and delegating those out?
No, you can delegate almost anything out. So, because with our company, our VAs are specialized in every single department. So we have an SEO department, we have a blogging department, we have a ISA department, which is your appointment setters. We have the customer service, so we have all of these departments. And when people onboard, they can just give us their list, and then our COO tasks them to whoever is specialized in that area. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So the VAs are specialized to individual methods, or?
Right. So in our SEO department, we only hire people who already have a background in SEO, but then they have to be trained by me. So SEO is one of my specialties, and I taught it since 2007. In fact, the very first SEO class I took was from Ryan Dias. So back in the day, and he's the one who helped me become #1 on the internet to make tons and tons of money. So anyway, back in the day. So I have all my trainings. We have all our SOPs in place, because that's another thing. People don't know how to create their own SOPs, and we're very good at that. My COO, I'm not organized. I'm a more of a right brainer and a creative. And my COO is my left brain, and she's my spreadsheet girl, and she's my, organizer. She keeps me on task. And so she's the one that will help the client during that 30-minute strategy session. She will help them create their SOPs. And a lot of our SOPs are already made. So like if someone is, let's say they're onboarding and they want us to do all their Google My Business or Google Business Profile, they keep changing their name. Anyway, if they want to do that, if they want to be on the map, then we already have, they don't even need to tell us anything. We just take it from there, and that's all we need to do. We don't need any help from them. So there's a lot of things that people can just onboard, and we just apply our own SOPs to it, which really streamlines that process for the client,
Oh, okay. So she's basically your integrator, where you kind of set the path, and then that's the new term for it.
Okay. Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. Well, I love the method, because I think what happens a lot of times when people do hire a VA, or they're outsourcing something, they just say, "Oh, I'll just outsource everything," and then they'll try to throw a million tasks at the individual, instead of just saying like, "No, I'm getting you for SEO. You're going to do nothing but SEO," and essentially building out your dream organization. I think eMyth, have you heard of eMyth Revisited?
Yes.
Yeah. They basically say, build out your dream organizational structure and put yourself in those positions. And then now you know who you need to hire. So do you do something similar in terms of, understanding how many VAs you're going to need?
No, what happened was around 2007 or 8, I started hiring my first VA, because we were in real estate, and we were getting so many listings that it was during the recession, and we were short sale specialists. And so everything was from online. All of it was from my SEO. And so we would have 40 to 70 listings in a month, and it was just crazy. So I had to hire people to help me. So I hired a guy in the Philippines, and he was really good, but then pretty soon he had no more than his 8 hours. And so he wanted me to hire other people. And I said, no, I don't have time for that. You're going to just start a company over there. So I taught him how to have his business. And then pretty soon I was coaching a bunch of people, and they all needed help. So we were building his company. And then in 2016, he went through really bad depression, and he shut his company down. And I made the decision to take over the company, because I didn't know what else to do. So I took over the company, and I surveyed all the clients. And so this is the one thing that differentiates through like Online PH and other kind of VA companies, is when you hire somebody, you hire one person, you have to hire them for full time, and you have to teach them everything, and they pretend they know everything. And so then you have a really bad experience. And so I surveyed all of the current clients and the past clients who had quit, to ask them why did they quit? Like, what is it that they didn't like? What is it that they liked? And the one thing they said was that they didn't want to hire one person who said they could do SEO and didn't know SEO, but they were really good at writing, maybe, And so they were the great blogger, ghostwriter, but they were terrible at SEOing the content. And so I said, well, we're going to fix that. And we're just going to have people that specialize. And then when a client onboards, they can just hire us for a block of time. And then we divide that time up between the different departments that stuff needs to be allotted to.
Oh, that makes a ton of sense. Yeah. And I think that kind of partitioning of the tasks, and again, having the SOPs is huge, because I think another mistake, and it's not just for the outsourcing, but also just for hiring, where you're like, oh, we need this done. We don't know how to do it. So we'll hire somebody, and then they'll figure it out. And unless you're hiring an executive, that never works out in my experience, because either that person's going to not do what you like and fail, or be totally misguided, and then basically get burnt out because you're putting way too much on a new employee. So do you have the similar policy between outsourcing and hiring?
So our hiring is done. So what we do with our hiring, we have an HR department, and we probably get 300 or 400 resumes and applications filled out each month. and we might interview 12. And out of those 12, we might hire 2. So it's a very, we vet them. Our HR department vets them very, extensively. We test them. We check all of their resources. And people go AWOL no matter where you live, right? So then we require, your mother's phone number, your sister's, all these ways of reaching somebody if if we don't hear from them. We really check their work, because if we get a lot of people who, especially for social media, they'll come in and say that they know how to do social media, and we look at their stuff and we go, no, you don't, so, and then, or if it's SEO, they're using stuff from, back in the day that doesn't work anymore, things like that. And so we really, really vet them. And then they have to agree to be part of a team, because they're not like, they're working from home, but they're part of our team, and we have a tribe. We call it a tribe, and we want them to be involved. And we have a Christmas party every year for them, and we have awards every month. We have a contest to whoever. We have a drawing where everybody, if they turn in their hours on time, then whoever turns in their hours on time gets put into a raffle and they get a gift. So it's really fun for them, and it helps them to be more accountable and also rewarded, so they feel like they're being appreciated, because they never see the customer. They never see they never work directly with the clients unless they're customer service, executive admins, phone callers, people who, you're on Google Chat with them all day long, something like that. But most of our stuff, like especially for agency white labeling, is social media, SEO, blogging, things like that. Or e-commerce, setting up your e-commerce site, doing products and SKUs and all that kind of stuff. And you don't need to have that one-to-one contact with someone for that.
Gotcha. So for the vetting process, because I know exactly what you're talking about in terms of, oh yeah, I could do SEO, I could do social media, I could do all these things. The only way I've found is to actually test people, where you're like, okay, here's a simple task and I need you to do it in 30 minutes. And I want whatever you could get done in that amount of time. It could be bad. It doesn't matter. I just need whatever you could do in 30 minutes. Do you have a similar policy in terms of quickly eliminating people who obviously are lying about their capabilities?
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah. So, a lot of them, we can pretty much tell just in their resume. And then the ones that we do end up interviewing, Daisy is the one who does those interviews. She's my COO. So the HR department passes them on to her, and then she knows the questions to ask of them. And she does a video meeting with them, and she knows right away. She'll know within 2 or 3 minutes whether they're going to be a good fit for us, and if they really know their stuff or not.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's basically the experience of it. But are there any tricks?
But we do testing. Yeah, we'll give them
really
an avatar. Yeah, we'll give them an avatar and say, okay, we want you to create all the templates for this, for this person. Let's say it's a speaker. The speaker speaks on motivational stuff, right? So I want you to create the templates, the avatar, and let me see what you can do with that. And then we'll see if they can connect. Because if they're not taking, if we can tell that it's just templates that's just done the same way for everyone, or we can tell if they actually thought through the process and they have something different to add to it that is related to that speaking person, right? So that's what we look for, that intuition, which is really, really hard to find.
Yes.
And even like, I would say in the Philippines, it's hard. In India, it's impossible. So like certain countries, it's really, really, some people just have to have a checklist, and they have to go down the checklist, and they can't deviate from that. And we can't have people like that work for us, because it needs to be very fluid,
Now for the, do you actually have a headquarters where you have staff, or is everybody 100%?
No, everybody's 100% virtual.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to ask, like, what's the difference? Because I actually just recently hired my first in-person person for, in the last 3 years. And what was happening was I couldn't see what the people were doing. And yeah, they were sort of doing the work, and it was sort of working. But at the end of the day, I was like, there's no way that some of the people are working more than like 3 hours a day. And so you actually mentioned that people turn in their hours. Do you have an automated system for actually watching the time that they're actually working, or is it more trust basis?
No, so our entire management system is on Trello. So that was one of the things when, back when I first took over the company, when I surveyed all the clients, they all said that they didn't like the communication process because it was all done through like Google Gmail or something. And so stuff was getting lost, and the VA was saying they never got the email and things like that, right? So we wanted everything structured. And they also said, we don't know what they're doing. And so every client gets a Trello board, and then the VAs that have to do the task are tagged on Trello. They have to put their output onto Trello. And then with our board manager, we call her our Trello board manager. She goes in and checks and verifies that the work was done, and output links have to be put to all of the tasks, and the client can follow along as well if they want to. A lot of them don't because they don't have time, but some of them do. Some of them are very micromanagers, and so they do follow everything. But then also in there, which is a really good thing, is we have benchmarks. So part of our SOPs are our benchmarks. And so Daisy knows how long it takes to do, and either her or I do the task. If I do the task, I give them 3 times more because I'm super fast. So, I'm crazy fast, and I don't expect other people to do that, even if they were next to me in my office, so, and so I give them I estimate 3 times longer than it takes me to do something. Daisy, I don't know how she does hers, but she's the one who develops all of those SOPs. And then, and inside those SOPs are the benchmarks, and the VAs have to meet the benchmarks. Now, if they start to complain and saying, oh, or sometimes we'll find out there was a situation with one of our VAs that was doing a project for one of our clients. And we ended up finding out she was doing like 3 hours a day for free for the client. I'm like, well, wait, no, you need to tell us if our benchmarks are wrong and it's taking you longer than what we're giving you, then you need to let us know that so we can adjust the benchmark, because we don't want people working for free, so yeah. So we watch it really carefully.
That's fantastic. Well, and getting that feedback to adjust the benchmark to say like, okay, this takes this long. And I also like how you triple the time it takes you, because I think, I tend to do the same thing where I'm like, oh yeah, it's really easy to create all these things, like, watch, I'll do it in a second. But there's the experience, and then also the authority, because I think, if you are the manager or you are the owner, like, you could do whatever you want and it's okay because it's you. But somebody who works for you is going to be like, well, can I do that? And then they're going to want to ask questions and want to get feedback. That way they don't waste the time that they would have, they could do whatever they want, but you could just go in and say like, that's wrong, redo it all. Why didn't you follow the policy?
That's true.
So do you have a review process for, like, when you say like, okay, we missed the benchmark, now we need to revisit that and say, okay, are we not realistic with our benchmarking, or is it the VA that's screwing up?
So we do it 2 ways. So one obviously is feedback from the client. Sometimes the client will say, well, why does it take this long? And then we can explain that, right? But, and then they can also see, because they're following on Trello, if they are. But for the VAs, usually they will tell us, but we do reviews. So we do, first we do quality reviews with the work that's being done, and we spot check it. We never let anyone know that it's happening. So we'll go in and spot check, and I don't know how many we do per month, but we get around to everybody within each quarter. Every one of our clients will have a spot check review. And then Daisy hosts one-on-one calls with each one of the team members. So she will get on the call and feel where they're at. And because one of the things is, especially in the Philippines, they're very, very soft people. They're very want to please you. They will not complain. They hold it all in, and then they just quit. And they're island people. That's what we always have to remember. They're island people, and island people are very peaceful. And that's why so many countries were able to take them over for so many, centuries and centuries of time. So we have to recognize that and know that they might have a problem with something, but they're not going to tell us. And so that's why these interviews are very important. And we do those once a quarter with each one of the employees.
Do you have any policies where you kind of train them like, hey, you don't have to be perfect, and we expect that it's going to, take you some time to adapt? And is there some wording that you give them to kind of, or training maybe, to help them understand it's okay to be wrong sometimes?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because it's hard for them to save face. That's the worst. That's the hardest thing. So there's 2 ways that we work with that. So this is very strange, but we mostly hire women. So women in the Philippines are much easier to deal with this problem with. Men, they'll just go away AWOL, and you wonder where they disappeared to, and you'll never find them again. So if they get in trouble or they do something wrong or they make a mistake, they can't own it and you just will never see them again. It's just part of their culture. But the women are different. They will work more and they also work a lot. So over in the Philippines, in their culture, the men don't work a lot. The women will raise the family, feed the kids, go to work, like they'll do everything. And the men sit around and play dominoes and drink and stuff like that. So it's really, my brother lives there 6 months a year. So he always complains about this. And he always goes around trying to teach these men to go to work. It's so funny. But anyway, it's a culture thing, you know, and so what we do is when we take somebody on and they start their training, even though they're already trained, they still need to do our trainings, right? So they know their stuff, but then we need to make sure they're going to follow our SOPs. And then we guide them and say, look, if you have any questions, and we have chat rooms set up. So everyone has to be, every time they check into work, they check into their chat room, whatever their department is. So the SEO VAs check into SEO, I'm checking in, checking out, so we know that they're online. And then all their questions they have, they ask there. And then I ask them to put all their output there as well, so that everyone can learn from somebody, you know, not really a mistake, but maybe, you know, just, and we're very gentle with people. And so we don't yell or anything like that. And then we just help guide them. And the chats have been, that was another thing, to build that tribe, to build that community with all of the VAs. Having those chat rooms has been amazing. And we've only been doing that for the past 2 years. And it's just really, the retention is better, the understanding is better, the output is better. It's just really great.
Gotcha. Well, I think I've taken up quite a bit of time now. Let's go ahead and kick it over to some questions. You want to ask those, Michelle, or there's only a few of us, so we can actually take it
Okay.
up. I do have to go a little bit early just because I got to prep for our big challenge. So
Okay.
we can stay for a bit and then I got peace out.
So I actually had a question. I was curious, throughout the research and the time that you've worked with clients, what are some of the top things that they end up delegating? Because obviously it's not the shower. So
yeah, right. Yeah.
What does it tend to be most of the time?
Yeah, so it's mostly going to be their social media. And like I said, they're always going to delegate stuff there that's not on their list. They always, like, it's really hard. So the biggest thing that I ever did was is delegated all my email. Like, I never check my email. That has saved me more time than anything in the world. And most people don't trust anybody to do that. So it's a hard one to delegate. And it was hard for me. But now I never check my email. I'm on chat with Vanessa, who's my secretary, and she'll just chat me. Like, if she can't answer the email or doesn't know who to forward it to or whatever, then it's usually someone else in the team can handle it, not me, right? And so then she'll just copy and paste it right into chat, and I'll say, okay, say this back to that person, and then she takes care of it. So she sends me your long ones every week. Michelle's emails come to me every week, but this is your meeting schedule, you know, and I go, okay, thank you, you know, but that saved me hours a day, hours and hours a day, you know, and then also headaches and everything else. But most people will do, number one, they'll do their social media. Number two, they'll do their SEO, their blogging, taking care of their website. And then we get a lot of orders from e-commerce company, you know, e-commerce clients to handle all their Amazon listings and their Shopify stuff and, you know, things like that. And then we get a lot of people who will also do, what was I going to say? Oh, ISAs. One of our biggest orders is appointment setters. So that is something that most people do have on their list, and they don't get to it each day. And so that's something we take over for people. That's very efficient for them, actually.
Nice. And Ethan's asking, the 4 principles that you mentioned at the beginning, could you list those out one more time?
Okay. All right. Yeah, those are fun. So 40% of all the tasks that you are doing right now, you either should not be doing or you should be delegating to somebody else to do. The next one is, when you outsource your work to virtual assistants, you save about 70% of your overhead. And this means virtual, not in office, right? Because that increases your overhead. 3 was the Aristotle quote that nature abhors a vacuum. And 4 was Parkinson's law, which is work will expand to fill the time allotted for its completion.
Perfect. Thank you. And where do you get your VAs from?
All of them are in the Philippines.
Do you get them from like a specific website or
no,
do you
no.
tag anywhere?
Yeah, there's a bunch of Filipino Facebook groups, and we have a HR director, and she goes and posts our postings in there. We also do Upwork. We do online PH. But we never really get Upwork. We never really get anyone good. They just lie a lot about their qualifications. And then we do a lot of referrals. So the first thing that we do is we send it out. So let's say we need a new social media manager. We send to our whole tribe, hey, you guys have any brothers, sisters, because that's the best way to keep everybody involved, is the more people in their family you can hire, the better. So that's really one of our favorite things to do. And they'll tend to be more loyal to us as well. So one of the big things, and just like a little caveat, one of the biggest, so when we hire them, they have to promise to be loyal to us. They sign a contract with us, and they have to stay only with us. They can't work for others. Because one of the things that's really happens a lot on Online PH and Upwork is you will hire somebody and they'll say, well, I want to be full-time. And so you say, okay, I'll hire you full-time. Well, they're doing the same thing with 3 or 4 other people. So they're lying. They're saying that, so they're actually getting money from 4 clients who are paying them full-time. There's no way they can work for 4 people at the same time, full-time. So we make sure that that doesn't happen with our company. We don't allow the moonlighting and all that other kind of stuff either.
All right. And from Mickey, what is one thing that more people should be outsourcing, but they don't?
The email, managing your emails. I would say email management, and then also any kind of customer service stuff that you're doing that you really don't need to be doing. Anything, the rule I use, anything that's repeatable. So when I told you to make that list, and then you're going to go through with highlighters, I always tell people, anything that you see that's repeatable, that you're doing over and over again, and you can teach somebody in 30 minutes or less to do it, you highlight that in pink, and those are the first things that you delegate out off of your list. And guess what? That includes stuff in your personal life. Like if you're really busy, you can do menu, you can have, the food people, you know what I'm talking about. You can do your grocery shopping, automate your grocery shopping. You can have it brought to your house. I mean, there's so many ways that you can save time on things you really shouldn't be doing.
Thank you. Now, a follow-up question. Do you have any advice on how to delegate your email?
So what I did was, and it takes a little more time because you have to train the person. We can't create an SOP for that, right? Because it's an individual thing. So on my email, so what I did was, first I hired Vanessa, and then I said what I wanted her. I had so many. I used to, how I used to take care of my email? I used to just delete the whole account and start a new one. That's how I used to manage my email back in the day.
I've done that.
And then I realized after a while, that's not really good for my brand. So I started saying, well, I better keep the same email and just deal with it. But I'm kind of OCD about that. So what I did was I had her come in. She was on chat with me. And then I made a list of like all the things that were important. So first we divided the Gmail account between important promotions, updates, and social, right? And the first thing I told her is everything on social, you can just delete. I don't need anything on the social because I get notifications, right? So you get Facebook, you don't need it in your email. So just delete those. You don't even have to ask me about those. So that should be cleaned out every morning. Never have to worry about that. And then then we go to the promotions, which is the next thing that if you make a mistake, no big deal, right? So we go through the promotions and I'll say, well, this is not a promotion. We'll share the screen. I'll say, well, this is not a promotion. This is, stuff like that. And I said, anything that comes in here, that's, these people here, unsubscribe, and I give her an unsubscribe list. And I probably refresh that unsubscribe list about once a month, but now she pretty much knows that I didn't subscribe to that or I don't need it. If she sees that it's never been addressed, she knows she can let go of it, right? And so then we clean that box up. Then we go to the updates and move those, whatever is important in there, into the important box and try to pretty much clear that out and delete all that. And then we start to work on the important box. And on the important box, we create labels and folders for the different things. So everything that's to do with DigitalMarketer goes in the DigitalMarketer folder. But first she looks at it to see if she can just delete it or not, right? So if it's your email, once she tells me, she can delete it, right? Because now it's on chat. I don't need to go back to the email again to look at your schedule that you sent me. So I train her that way as well. So pretty soon, and she's been with me for how long has she been doing this? She's been doing it for me for like 4 years now. So she's been with me for a long time, and she's pretty much can read my mind now, but that's the best way to do it. And just having her manage it and just trying to get rid of all of that. The labels and the boxes are good, because then let's say you didn't want to delete it, you can just search and it'll pull up, right? Anything after you search for the sender or the subject or whatever it is, it'll pull up. So you didn't really lose it, even though you never saw it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I might go into my email on a Saturday for maybe 5 minutes just to review and see that she's doing everything the way I want her to do it, make any adjustments or stuff. But, and then I have her on chat with me. So she can always ask me questions. She can say, hey, I don't know what to do with this email. What do you want me to do with it? And then over time, she'll learn and won't have to ask me that again. But just by you not having to go open your email, I'm telling you, it's a game changer, because like I said, she chats me the important stuff. So I'm still seeing an email, right? But I'm not going in. So I'm not being distracted by everything else in the email, right? Because that's what you're going to do. You're going to, right, Michelle, you're going to go in there and you're going to see everything else there. Oh, let me just delete some of these for her so she does, or, and I'm like, no, that's a waste of time.
That's a fantastic tip, all of that, because I think that's one of the things I've done recently, where I'm like, oh, I'll just have a summary. I'll tell, my assistant how to reply. And then eventually it all kind of comes together into me not having to check it as often. So I only check email too, like twice a day. And you're totally right. If you get in there, you're going to be like, oh, look, a newsletter. And then you click on that. And then, oh, look, I should have got back to that person. And then you click on that. And eventually an hour goes by and you're like, okay, that was not helpful. So that's a great tip.
Exactly.
I've seen a lot of that, actually.
Just in terms of, I do have a question just about the AI, because I got to run in 5 minutes, but in terms of the amount of work that an individual can do now because of AI and even the SOP processes, because before writing an SOP was a really time intensive process. And now you could just tell ChatGPT, like, I need a standard operating procedure for, outsourcing my emails or for whatever, and it'll just outline it and give it to you. And now you can pass it off to an American if you want to, or somebody who's in your office. Have you started to use that capability, or is that, do you still find that it is much cheaper, I'd imagine, but, now that people could do a lot more work, will you start to transition back to, Americans, or how's that?
No, I don't think so, because part of my mission is to rise women out of poverty. So a lot of my mission is about helping people in a third world country, be able to get food on their table. They don't have food stamps. They don't have welfare. They don't have any of those, security measures that we have here, and they want to work. So, that's my, biggest thing. I do have American editors. And so I do use American editors. I had an American salesperson, but that didn't work out very well. So, but, so there's, different things. Canadians, I use a lot for auditing and editing. But now with ChatGPT, my Filipinos can do it. So it's, and we do use the AI all the time in our business. Daisy uses it constantly to create SOPs. She does it we do it for our emails, for our funnels. We just use it for everything. We use it for social media. We create all the tweets, we just really maximize on the AI, and she and I are getting super, super good at it. So prompt engineering is the key there. And we're just really, really good at prompt engineering. And we're now training the VAs. The ones we have the hardest time with are our writers, because our writers get paid by the word. They don't get paid by the hour. And writers don't understand that AI can write better than they can. And so that's a really, really tough, that's a tough one, but we're working on that. And that's once we have our entire SM, our social media department all automated and into the and applying all the AI tools there, then we're going to move into the writing department and revamp that department, and probably change that role from more of from a writer to more of a researcher, auditor, fact checker kind of a person. And then we won't need as many writers either.
Awesome. Well, I do hate to run, but it was great talking to you. I'll let Michelle take over, keep on asking questions, and I'll see you all very soon.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
They were talking in chat here about an extension that they use. Actually, Mickey uses something called Inbox When Ready, and basically it helps her only check her inbox 3 times a day.
Oh, that's nice.
I wish I could. I basically just mentioned I have no boundaries. So it's on my phone, it's on my computer. I check it at all times of day. But just know if y'all email me at 1 a.m. angry, I'm gonna check it when I wake up at 3 a.m. for no reason. And then I'm just gonna stress for the next
6 hours.
Thank you for that. It actually reminds me, we have another certified partner, Atiba. Mickey says that extension can give you penalties when you check your email too often. So maybe
that's funny.
But we're talking about Atiba. Atiba actually does something very similar with his LinkedIn. Obviously, he has it for email and all that good stuff, but his same VA actually does this for LinkedIn. So he basically trained her to speak the way that he does. And so whenever there's comments, unless it's like obviously Atiba, where it's just like kind of goofy,
right,
it's almost always him creating those connections, responding to messages, all of that good stuff. And she does very similar things for him. We're just like, I didn't even realize that wasn't him until he told me at a presentation that he did at one of our events. And I was like, oh, okay, got it. That was not, that wasn't actually you, it was your assistant. So
yeah, so Vanessa does all my LinkedIn stuff too. And we do InMail. We do a lot of, I get a lot of leads from LinkedIn's and Facebook are where I get all of my leads. And so in LinkedIn, she does and I have I pay that $79 a month for that, not for the Navigator, but the other one. I can't remember what the other one's called, Premium, I guess, LinkedIn Premium. But anyway, so we can send direct messages like emails in the email InMail, and we do get really good leads. She handles all those. She does all the congratulations, the happy birthday, all that stuff, all the endorsements. She does everything. I'm only alerted when it's something she can't answer. So like I just got a message yesterday that said, and she could have answered it, but I think she wanted to go through me first. And it said, yeah, I really need an ISA. Can you hook me up? And so that is usually a trigger. And an ISA is an appointment setter. So that's usually a trigger that I will then set her up with a call with Daisy, because she's the one that knows about ISAs more than I do. And so, but Vanessa probably just didn't feel that quite comfortable. Like how deep did I want to go before I pick up the phone and call the lead, right? So I usually pick up the phone and call the leads right away. And, but anyway, so she handles everything in LinkedIn, and she does all my personal Facebook stuff too. So one of the things that Gary Vee just said, in this recession, this is crazy, in this recession and where we're going with, TikTok and all this stuff going on and how fast everything's moving, is that you need to be posting on social media 12 times a day across 5 platforms. 12 times a day. And, people are like, oh no, you can't do it more than one. And I have 6,400 followers on my personal Facebook page, and I'm at my max at 5,000 friends. And on my Facebook personal page, Facebook approved me to be a digital creator. So I'm a digital creator now. So I get to see insights, and that's the best. My personal page is my best place for branding. And so we post there 4 times a day now. And it has made a huge difference in my business, like huge. Just something that small. I mean, it's not small because it takes so long to do it, right? If you're doing it all yourself, so I do 1 personal post a day. We do 1 industry related kind of thing, 1 call to action, and 1 quote. And she handles like all the quotes, so I just do I don't do the personal ones. Once a week, I sit down for an hour and create all my personal ones and just put them on Gmail chat with her and just send them all to her. And this, post them when you need to post them. And it's that simple. But yeah, there's a lot you can delegate, a lot you can automate, and still look like it's you.
Yeah, I haven't noticed it with any of y'all that it's not you. I really haven't. Now I realize that sometimes I'm not talking to you, because I talk to you in comments and on Facebook sometimes, and I think we talked to you on LinkedIn, and I was like, oh, there's a good chance. I had no idea that wasn't Katerina. Yes, Mickey, it is. Well, now I'm curious, like, what have you found to be the biggest value from delegating these? I mean, has it been the time you're able to put back into your business? Is it personal life? Is it the time to, I don't know, put your house together?
I wish the house together. No. So, yeah, well, one of the things is I'm a project person and I get bored super, super fast. So I'm always starting new businesses, always starting new projects, right? And so it's helped to get rid of a lot of that brain fog so that I can concentrate on bigger and better things. That's one thing. But the main reason I did it was when I started doing this, I think in 2016, my goal was that by 2017, I could, because I have 9 kids, right? And they all have kids except for one of them. One of them doesn't have children. So I have 13 grandchildren now. And I wanted to be able to have a business where I could go, and if one of my kids needs me or one of my grandkids wants me to sit and read a story to them, that I don't have to worry about what's going on in my business, right? So it doesn't matter what time. I don't have to say, well, honey, I have to wait till 5 o'clock to do that. I don't need to do that. That's how I want. And also when you're really young like you, Michelle, you think that you have eternity to do everything. When you turn my age, as soon as you turn 60, I promise you, your perspective on life changes. Like when I was 18, I couldn't wait to be 21. When I was 21, you know, like all these things, right? When you're growing up, when you're a kid, you can't wait to be a grown-up. And then when you turn 60 and you're looking at your life like, oh, I'm going to live so long. And now when I'm 60, I'm like, I want to live another 40 years, but will I? You know, so life becomes so precious. And so I have to look at it and say, what is it at the end of the day that's most important to me? And that's my family, my sanity, my health. And I love to work. So it's like, I don't work because I have to make money. I work because I love what I do. So there's a difference, right? So as long as you love what you do, it doesn't become work, but still that money component of it, which I love, I have to realize that I can't take that with me when I die. So I'll have my memories, I'll have my children, I'll have, you know, the family times we had together, and the things, you know, other things that you want to do in life, like travel and things like that. So freeing up that time. So no matter what stage of life you're on, it's going to be a different reason in those different times, right? It's not going to be the same thing. Like your why you would want that is different than my why, and so on and so forth.
Well, thank you for that. We're coming up on the end here. So if anybody has any other questions, please drop them in chat. I will ask that for Katerina. But thank you for that. I'm a little sad that Axel had to leave, because Axel and I have actually talked about that at length on some of these calls. Just kind of freeing up your time so you can live, really.
Yeah, to live.
Yeah. Was it working to live, not living to work?
Yeah.
Is that what
Yeah. So at my stage, so what happened was, you know, one of the reasons my husband died was because he had diabetes and he had a bad heart, and, you know, and stuff like that. He didn't take care of himself. He didn't eat right. And I've always eaten right. And my kids always joke on me. They have this joke and they go, Mom, you don't live to eat anymore. You eat to live. I said, absolutely. Because I want to have a high quality life when I'm 100 years old. I want to be able to still walk and run and do things, you know, and I live, and I'm so fortunate. I moved into an area in a neighborhood where many of the people are in their 80s and 90s, and they are perfectly healthy, and they walk. I have such a good example because they walk and they work in their gardens and they socialize, which is so huge at that age. And it's just been like, wow, it's been so inspiring to me, saying, yeah, that could be me in 30 years, you know? So yeah.
Love that. I'm just trying to get old and social enough to be like my dad, who had his 75th birthday and had 100 attendees.
Oh, wow. How amazing.
To be fair, a lot of them were his kids and grandkids, but still, he had that many people.
That's awesome. That is so awesome.
So you're onto something there, Katerina. We're going to go ahead and close it out. Thank you so much, Katerina. I knew asking you to hop on here was a great idea.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
If any of y'all have any questions, where can we find you, Katerina?
You can find me on Facebook Messenger or LinkedIn. So I'm Katerina Gasset. So, and also people know me as Coach Katerina. So that's kind of been like my little I don't know, tag name for years someone put on me, and all the VAs call me coach, so it's funny. And so anyway, so you can find me on Facebook. I'm Katerina Gasset on Facebook, Katerina Gasset on LinkedIn. So yeah, you can find me there.
Well, thank you so much for attending today. This was a lot of fun, and delegation may not be like the sexiest topic, but it's definitely one of those ones that you have to think about if you're just going to survive, really.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you to everyone who attended today. If you loved it, we will be back in 2 weeks because next week is Good Friday and we're off. Hope you're off too. But we will be back on April 14th with Molly Mahoney, the CEO of the Prepared Performer and one of the coolest people alive.
Yes,
so
definitely.
Thank you all for stopping by. Have a fantastic weekend. I'll see you next week.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.